Oh, Paul, why?
Why is it 85 degrees right now, man?
Why is it 85 and counting in the middle of March? We have a beautiful spring garden here, Paul. It's flopping, it's drooping, it is showing, and it's not growing, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
So we're gonna harvest it out today. Jacques back at jury duty. We don't know where he is, but of course, as we've addressed in recent episodes, still a beloved member of the epic gardening ecosystem. Some might even say a keystone species.
Absolutely.
But even a keystone species has got to go hunt on their own land sometimes. So in today's video, Paul and I are going to check on the garden. We're going to do some harvesting. We're actually going to check on some of the beds we planted a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
And we'll do an update of some crucial backyard orchard projects because I developed a fetish, Paul. I'm gonna be honest. And you know what it is. What is it?
I do. It's pruning.
I love to prune so much that I see a thing, I start pruning it even if it really doesn't need it. And I did that to the backyard orchard. So let's get into it, Paul, starting with a front yard harvest.
Sweet.
Paul, I have to say, this bed looks amazing, man. This bed looks amazing. Got a little bit of the white alyssum in the back.
Oh yeah.
You got the alyssum on the corner. I mean, alyssum for us is kind of like our water.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely, dude.
When in doubt, you just put alyssum somewhere. But the cabbages are looking a bit ripe to me.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This one looks perhaps the most ripe. Let's give it a squeeze test.
Can I hit it?
Yeah, let's give it a little quick fondle, quick slap.
Okay, no pruning involved, but definitely.
Well, we'll have to prune these leaves off like on the outside. It's a little overgrown, you know. Why don't you give it the decapitation? Honorable.
Let's see. And
yes. Look at
that.
that. It's a nice Napa, dude. And you know who has a hard time growing Napas?
It's Jacques.
It's our friend, our best friend. No, this looks really good, honestly. I would say there is a little bit of rot on one of these leaves down here.
Yep.
See that? Mm-hmm. But that's fine. It's at the base on the outskirts.
Sure.
This coloration, nice.
Amazing.
There is some leaf damage up top on some of these leaves. Like if we were to take this leaf off, of course you'd want to see like no holes at all. In this case, these are the outer leaves. I'm kind of curious, like how far can we pull back? Oh, there's our culprit right there.
Sluggo.
Look at that little boy. Or is it two?
I'm gonna let you find out.
I think we interrupted something, guys. I don't think let's put him. So for slugs, Sluggo Plus is like the best thing to do.
Yeah.
How far do you think we're gonna have to pull back to get like a quality,
I don't know.
quality leaf?
Another layer or two, I think. But
Oh,
we got another guy.
You know what? This is kind of crazy, guys. We really don't get a lot of slugs here at the homestead, so this is kind of new for us. And I'm sure a lot of you are saying, finally, you guys have to deal with slugs. I'm actually happy too, because we don't have to deal with this all that often, and we want to help you with your gardening problems. We can't help you with slugs if we don't have them, so now we have a few. Okay, we have some experiments to harvest, because the experiment is now done.
Yeah, they've been done for a few months, but
Yeah. We'll see what we get out of this carrot. So this was our carrot germination experiment.
Yep.
Where we found that basically just growing them like normal people is the way to do it. And we just then forgot to water the carrots.
Sure.
So, I mean, look, we're still getting some here. I mean, at least I am. What are you getting?
Got a surprise radish.
Yep.
Knew that was gonna happen.
That was from our radish planting.
Yeah.
Of course, when you stop watering your carrots, they do stop growing a bit, but these are nice baby carrots.
Not bad, dude.
I'll take them. Honestly, at a nice restaurant, you're looking at a little hefty price for these, you know? That's pathetic, yeah, that's pathetic. Quite bad.
Yeah.
Nice little babies here. These are good roasters though, on a plate, like as a little side dish.
Well, honey glaze.
Oh boy.
That'll get me to like those.
Don't get me excited. Okay, so I've got cute little handful, I would say.
Yeah, I'm still
Mixed in for some reason with a lot of this. It's just like a pride of...
Dude, I have no idea what that is. That's been grown in there the entire
How
time.
did that get there?
I don't know.
What do you
It's
got?
probably Jacques. I don't know, nothing all that.
Join forces.
Yeah, you've got,
That's not bad.
yeah,
It's not bad.
it's okay.
Look, for container grown carrots that you forgot to water for a week and a half,
Or longer.
I'll take this all day. The only thing I will do probably here is, if you notice, they are a little soft.
Sure.
So before you cut off all the leaves, etc., I'm probably just gonna dunk these in water. Keep them in like a little thing of cold water for maybe like 30 minutes to an hour. They'll rehydrate, they'll get nice and crispy, then we'll store them.
Cool.
That's the play. Alrighty, the Napa with probably a couple slugs, Paul, going to the hens. We haven't discussed the hens in a while.
I know, it's been a minute.
Because I think they're just in their care mode now. Like
Sure.
There's not a whole lot. They're grown up, they're laying eggs. Sometimes they're not laying eggs, other times, wow, lobster going straight in for that. So we've just been caring for them like normal farm animals, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And what part of that is using these guys, which is like by far the best treat we've ever used, Grubley's Hometown Harvest.
Dude, it's like the only thing that they'll eat.
It's crack for them. I mean, here's what I'd say. It's not the only thing they'll eat. They'll eat everything in the garden that we throw in, but it's the only thing they'll eat with that much enthusiasm, for sure. Because if I do this, let's watch.
Dude, they go crazy.
They come right for it. There's already some on the ground.
Start going for the hand.
It's that Pavlovian response that they have. Look at Butter. She's just absolutely going for it. So the hens that are left, unfortunately, we have Butter, we have Chetty, Lobster, Cortado, and Lavender. 5 of the 10 that we had in 2 different batches. Unfortunately, we did lose more hens than I would have expected, Paul.
Yeah.
And even Jock has lost more hens than I think he would have expected, which we did a whole episode on the main channel about like, is keeping chickens even worth it?
Yeah.
We still think it is. It's just that you got to shift your mentality, I think, a little bit from pure pet to more like farm animal.
Sure.
I think psychologically that can help you maybe divorce your connection to them a little bit. It's not like you're not connected. It's more like, just be prepared.
Sure. Yeah,
Because
it's hard either way, but it's gonna happen, right?
a hen can just go sometimes,
Yeah.
man, and it's really unfortunate. Okay, we need to top up their feed as well, Paul.
Yeah, we do.
Let's get in the coop. All right, the coop boys. We've got our feeder here that honestly is the best feeder we've ever used. Coop works. And then the fresh packs, which is, you said the treats were the only treats they'll eat,
Yeah.
which is, they love them. This is the only feed we found for them to like reliably eat day after day, week after week, year after year. Specifically, Fresh Pecks crumbles from Grubblies, because for us and for our hens, I think it's personality based. If you give them the individual components, sometimes they'll just pick the ones they want.
Sure.
I want them to pick all of it because I want them to get that balanced, feed or nutrition. So we'll top it off. It's really literally that easy. What do you think it is? About a bag every month and a half or so?
I'd say a bag every, 4 to 5 weeks is roughly where we're at, so.
So we've addressed this before. Keeping hens, it's not cheaper than just getting really fresh eggs from the store, but they're the best eggs you can get.
Yeah.
And also, of course, there's all the benefits you get from the hens.
So much satisfaction,
Oh
right?
my God, yeah, it's great. Paul, we've come across a patch.
Oh yeah.
Unlike any other, and we're bringing back something that you haven't seen in years. This is the booper. Typically used, I think, for wild blueberries.
Okay.
Or something of that nature. We don't have those here, unfortunately. What are we gonna use it for, Paul?
Chamomile, dude.
Chamomile.
All day.
The chamomile is back. You can see it right here, actually underneath the loofah arch.
Insane.
It's insane. You did not plant it this year.
No,
You did not plant it
years,
last
dude.
year. I believe this is a dormant resprouting with a season's gap.
Yeah, I
from
think so too.
actually maybe the original chamomile planting that we did. Beautiful though.
Yeah.
Honestly, and to be honest, even just come right over here.
Yeah.
Like stand a little above it and just take it in. Just take it in.
A lot of stuff
Wow,
around in there
there's
too.
a lot of gnats on
Yeah,
dude. That was active. But that green apple smell.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna give it the boop. You wanna give it the ceremonial?
Oh, dude, the inaugural boob.
This is
Of the
this is
season.
an honor. Oh,
That was good,
and dude, it works so well.
I was gonna
It's
say
the crazy part.
It's that easy.
Because you think, like, look, you think you're gonna rip a lot of the foliage off.
You really don't.
I mean, you can't really. It got it perfectly, perfectly.
Yeah.
Chamomile tea,
Is that what you're gonna use
Chamomile-
it for?
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually don't really know what else to use.
Neither do I. I was just maybe wondering if you had a secret
Maybe
recipe or
you
something,
could. You know what I have used it for before is chamomile lemon infused kombucha.
Oh, wow.
When I was making homemade kombucha at least.
Okay.
So we're gonna boop a little bit of this chamomile. We'll cut it down for next year because this is
Insane.
I would say it is a touch too much.
Yeah.
And also we are getting a pretty good ecosystem for these little gnats, these little flybugs,
Dude.
which I think you should see some predators coming in trying to eat them, but there's just simply too many.
Sure.
right now.
Yeah. No, and the crazy thing is, like, I even took a lot of this out. Like,
Yeah.
earlier this week, I took out probably half, and it's all over the yard still.
I mean, how many individual chamomile flowers do you think there are?
I don't even know.
10,000 perhaps?
I mean, that feels a little bit generous, but yeah.
All the garlic and the onions. Allium Alley here.
Yeah, dude.
Good name.
It's
Just made it up. Looks really good.
It does.
Man. And there's some scaping going on
Yeah.
on some of the varieties because it's not all hardneck. Remember guys, the scape is that flowering stalk that will curl. Once it curls, it's time to cut it.
Yep.
And also it's a good time to eat it. They're not quite there yet. Literally next week though,
I think so.
probably. Onions also doing very well. We've got a couple months left before they'll bulb, but you're seeing good leaf development,
Yep.
which is really what's making the peels around that onion. And I have to say, I feel at peace in this field.
Yeah.
Do
Right?
you not?
No, I definitely do. I mean, there's no disease.
Nothing.
It looks great. It's bright and high.
No
but it
garlic
looks great.
rust, fingers triple cross, cross them. Triple
The whole
cross.
hand.
Man, I'm feeling really good about this. Okay, I want to show you the grapes.
All right.
Because we've been hitting those hard this year. We're actually pruning them properly.
This is the fetish he was talking about.
Okay, Paul, you remember last season, the grapes.
Yeah, a few months ago now.
Well, we had a really good grape harvest last year, but I would say off of suboptimally pruned grapes.
Yeah, definitely.
Now that we've gone really deep into the world of grape pruning, which is, believe me guys, a much deeper world than you would think, especially because what is it with vineyard owners or vintners or viticulturists that one part of this plant is named 3 different things?
I don't know. We were talking about that this morning, and I was like, oh, it's the cane, it's this, it's that. I'm like, we're talking about the same thing. It's just
the same thing. So what happened here? You have your main stem, right?
Yep.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
After that, it starts to go off the rails, but we think we've tamed it. So what we're doing is what's called spur pruning. A spur is a cane, which is one of these offshoots right here, which will produce grapes this year, cut down to about 2 little growth nodes.
Yep.
A cane is what we just held up right here. And a cordon is one of these guys that's a year-old cane or older. That's sort of the support structure for future cane development. So what we've done is a 2-tier, 2-direction pruning system. Let's just call it that to keep it simple. And what you do here is you bring 1 cane out each year to about 10 bud sites, let those grow, collect the grapes, and then you prune it all the way back to here, and you let a new one grow, just like you're seeing right here.
Yeah, it's like an infinity glitch with the grape, right? It's
basically
up, replace, up, replace, up, replace,
replace, replace, replace. So you need to leave at least 2 sites because you need 1 cane for the year, and you need 1 cane to reproduce for the next year. Otherwise, you're sort of out of luck on that side.
Gotcha.
So if you can see it now, Paul,
yeah,
I went pretty hardcore prune mode, one of the best days of my life, last week.
For so many reasons.
For so many reasons. And I think I've done a really good job, at least on this one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Now you'll see areas where we weren't able to do it perfectly, like this particular one. This is a much younger grape.
Sure.
Right? And so I've got 1 stem coming this way. There's no stem actually shooting out this way.
Yeah.
I just don't have that this year. And then as you can tell, this one has yet to sprout. There's a very small bud coming here. That's gonna be our cane this year. It's just coming in really late. We got one coming over this way. So basically, it's gonna be our best year of grapes yet.
Yeah, I think so too, but it's crazy how resilient these grapes are, right? Because this was one that I had tried to rip out completely.
Yeah, it came back.
It came back.
And we said, why not make it a new grape?
Exactly.
And you'll even see, Paul, we've got the beginning of young clusters.
Yeah.
So there's a cluster right there. There's a couple over there. Unfortunately, on some of the overgrown canes this spring, I took off a couple future clusters, but just I needed to get it perfect.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, right?
So we're feeling good about the grapes. Let's look at the banana next because we have a weird surprise.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we've gone from struggling to get even a hand of bananas, right? To getting the biggest load of bananas we've ever seen last fall. So now getting a surprise secondary in the spring of the same cycle.
It's crazy, dude.
Which is crazy. This should not happen.
No, it happened back to back.
Back to back bananas, and you can tell there's quite a few pups coming off. So what we've done, you take a look at that bottom there, Paul.
Oh yeah.
See how they're all these are all the tops of what are called banana corms.
Yeah.
They propagate via pups. They produce corms, and those corms then become like the future bananas. But this is way too many.
Yeah.
Way, way, way too many. It's created this big cluster. So what I did last week is I shoveled one out hardcore.
Yeah, I see the hole right there.
There's a huge hole, and we used Happy Frog, which I want to talk about for a second, because Fox Farm is our official soil partner here at Epic Gardening. We're using it for everything, and honestly, we have been using it for everything for years. I would say at least 4 years now as the staple soil. Prior to them coming on as our official soil partnership, we use Happy Frog, we use Ocean Forest. They've got this beautiful raised bed mix that makes a great topper for all of the raised beds. Specifically, if you're trying to like save on soil on a really big bed, you can use it just on the top layer and you get a ton of fertility out of it. And of course, in the orchard, Happy Frog fruit and flower, that is hitting in the orchard, especially right now as peaches, the plum, hopefully this year, and some of the other fruits are coming in. So we're very thankful. You can check out in the description where to get Fox Farm. You can find a dealer or you can find a nursery that carries them in the link in the description. Thank you to them. But what I did here, Paul, is I cut a corm out of the ground. And normally you'd say, well, if you're going to propagate something that's corm-based, you just put it directly in a pot.
Yeah. Which
I technically did, but I flipped it upside down.
Oh, why'd you do that?
Apparently, what happens is you'll get way more pup development if you flip it upside down.
Interesting.
They'll just keep sprouting, and then you'll pop those off and root those, and you can give them out to family or friends.
How cool.
So there's basically an upside down version of these with Happy Frog right there.
Super cool.
And hopefully soon we'll start to see like 5 or 6 things come up.
Yeah, we're gonna pop this guy in the greenhouse and give it its best shot.
It will really come up. So I don't know about you, but I'm getting dramatically too hot to stay out here. It's like 90 degrees in spring.
Sweating everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Every crevice of my body.
I'm gonna take a dip in the pond. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Good luck in the garden. Hope you have a happy spring and keep on growing.